Hello, one and all. This is Robert James Fremantle here, giving you another report on Dragon Age, the Vidcast. And just out there, the neighbours' dogs are making an ungodly sound. Something stirred them up. They're howling and they sound upset at something. And it's kind of foreshadowing, perhaps, foretelling for our own coming events. And I'm here with another interactive dog as well, with a little puppy who I'm sure will disrupt the viewing here, in the house that I'm sitting in at the moment. And I'm playing dog sitter. It's the only time of getting a bit of quiet to actually record one of these videos for you. Quiet time has been quite difficult to come by, I should tell you. Right. So what's going on? Oh, here he is. Let's show you interactive dog, interactive puppy. This is interactive puppy. This is Ozzy, little Ozzy. That's what it's like being kissed by Ozzy. Okay, Ozzy, you've just kissed the internet. Ozzy. Hey mate. Hey mate. Okay, thank you very much. Right. Let's get on with things, shall we? If he doesn't interrupt me too much, eh? So, this is my co-presenter you've met now. Now let's proceed, shall we? So, where are the guys? Well, they've got Aldrich out and they're about to go into a room with a cathedral. And there they are taking on a Dark Souls, sorry, not Dark Souls, even Demon Souls boss. The Demon Souls boss, Fool's Idol. So link to that below for you as well. All good. And you will see that, and if you don't deal with the guy upstairs, who Amelia spared when Tanador tried to behead, then he will regenerate the boss, heal her when she's finally killed, and then she'll make all the clones, and then they'll all start firing at everybody again, and it will all kick off. And that sort of thing happened, and the group were actually killing the dregs as well, thinking they needed to, even though the dregs were harmless, and they were just there to give an indication for a stay aware stunt, if you happen to spend it, so that, you know, they are worshipping one of the versions of her in particular. That being the indication that they know which the real one is and which are the clones. It's a clever boss fight. She really, really needs her mechanic as well for those lockdowns. Ozzy, not that. He's trying to attack this draft excluder. It's weighted in its bottom with like beanbag stuff or something. That's pretty good. You can't eat that, Ozzy. No. Right. Onwards then. So, he's like, tell me a story. Forget them. Tell me a story. Tell me a story. Okay, so they beat her in the end. He's wrestling my chair leg. Right. I think the chair is winning. Right, anyway, so they went through this fight. They managed to kill her eventually. No one dead. So they press on out of the place, and they meet two new people, two new players that come along, rolled new characters, come to join the group, to fill the whole thing up. And so is Joel as well. So we've got Joel, a new player with us, someone that I brought in, who I knew, and he's stepped into the shoes of Aldrich Lapointe, the NPC Grey Warden who's with the players, who they've got to escort back to safety. That's all very well and good, of course, but there's going to be extra complications that could make that procedure rather dangerous than it ought to be. We'll move on to that. So for that journey back to Denerim. So as I say, they meet the two new people. This is a father and son player team playing elf and dwarf respectively. Although not very respectfully, but you know, yeah, elf, ranger, thief type, kind of up yours, I'm here to nick it all, and a dwarf with a load of attitude, and I think he likes nicking things as well, to be honest, while we're at it. Oh, thanks for that, Ozzy. My shoe. Yeah. I'm not going out though. Right. So anyway, they introduced themselves and said, right, well, we've nicked a load of stuff from that tower, but I did explain to them, it only half exists. So they thought, well, we might be able to half sell it, basically. We'll see what happens. So they get going, and the mountains are still like ice cubes and filled with a terrible, like icy effect. It's quite hideous, and it's like a huge ice cube around Redhold itself, and that's only expanding, and the weather around it's only getting worse, and the snow's coming down and all this. And then on their way, they see a dwarf in a cart coming the other way, well, a wagon actually. And they meet him along the road. He jumps down off his wagon. He says, "You looks like you'll need my wares." And they said, "Well, what do you do?" And so he walks around the back and hits the back with his the meat of his fist, and it falls open and turns into a slanted ramp thing. And then you can see inside is a portable blacksmith's inside the wagon with a cute little anvil and furnace fired up, ready to go. It's really quite clever. Ozzy, please, have some respect for my shoe. Shoe, Ozzy. Shoe. I guess that's what they say, shoe. Right. So this is what they do. You take one away from them, they'll just go get the other. That's the problem with shoes, isn't it? They have to include two. It's not a very dog-proof idea. Play with your sausages on rope. So, anyway, Tanadol decides to take advantage of this and says, "Well, I've got some dragon bone here. What do you think of that?" And he says, "Yes, I could work with that." And of course, the dwarf that was currently traveling with them, because the snow was setting in pretty bad anyway, and they wanted to go that way, knew that they were going to get frozen in, so they're just traveling with the group now as well. Said, that there? It seems pretty old and cracked and crap. They got it from the bone dragon. Remember that bone dragon back in Black Sand when they were on their way to finally track down Zorton Throg? Yeah. So, I mean, as I say, it's aged dragon bone because it was a bone dragon. Not that great a quality. And, he got a special listening device out of a top drawer that was very dusty, hasn't been used in decades. And it, extended and put it against the bone and tapped it with a very tiny little purpose-made hammer and listened to the quality of it, essentially the bone, and said, "No, this won't do. I might just be able to make you a short sword at very best out of this, and that's it. Sorry about that." And he said, "But you are lucky because I've got some of my own dragon bone." And Tanador said, "Well, right, okay, so like what about 60? I think he said something like that for a good long sword, a good great sword, sorry." And he laughed and he scoffed. He said, "Yeah, if we were talking about the first weapon, I was going to try and make you perhaps." As in, sovereigns here, people, sovereigns. So the party had collected quite a lot of money at this point, so it's a good idea to sort of help them part with it a little bit. Let them buy an upgrade, so to speak. And Tanador had already upgraded his sword once, you see. So to have gone through this now, well, that's quite something. In the end, he paid 140 gold. 140 gold. And what he got for that was a bone great sword. with 3 rune slots. He basically he said, look, I'll pay for the absolute maximum you can do. And he met this guy, and this guy is, he's great. He's like a traveling genius dwarf of blacksmithing. Who knows? He might be future paragon status, or past. You know what I mean? Like in the Warhammer world, they say about like Grombrindle and these kind of like godly type characters that turn up and leave again, or the way the gods themselves used to, the ancestors, they were ancestors, weren't they? The Warhammer dwarfs, and how they used to sort of live in the world and behave and this sort of thing. Who knows? Right. So they pressed on anyway after he's got his nice sword. And obviously there's no runes in there yet, just the slots he's built. And they come to Elmridge, the place where they went before, where the Smoking Crow Tavern was. That they stopped to do. They stopped in the Blood in Ferelden book, actually. There, the one, the Frostbacks adventure. So, right. Anyway, the snow's getting heavier. They're having to turn people away at Elmridge, and they tell the group, look, you're not going to be able to come in. We're not going to be able to give you very much. You're not going to be able to stay. It looks like a terrible storm. We're having to tell people to go. Our own supplies are low. We're just trying to dig in and survive. So they've told the group basically, bugger off. They've had to leave. They took it well enough. They weren't rude about it. They just said, look, we've got to survive, kind of thing. The group accepted that and moved on, and they had to work out, well, where do we go then? I mean, we know that we want somewhere walled and protected from this storm, which even, the Avar could feel. Damn, this is cold. I mean, it's so bad that the Avars themselves are dying in the mountains right now from the cold. I mean, that's how bad things are in this winter up in the mountains itself, and it's all originating from the mountains. Just what is going on? What has happened? Well, we had another indication of that when an Avar met them on the road. And what did the Avar say? Well, he recognized Karak and said, oi, you. And Karak tried pulling his disguise down and trying to not reveal himself, but no, it was of no use. He'd spotted him. His perception roll against him was good enough, and he said, I know you. That's you. That's that mage. That mage of Redhold everyone's looking for, the shaman. And Tandal covered for him, to be honest. And, he was saying, why are you with him? You're one of the southern ones. You're a southern cousin. Was he? No. Biting my sock, which is going to lead to my toe, which is going to lead to my whole foot being devoured. And then what have I got? I can't walk on like the proverbial Liverpool song, can I? No. Ozzy, now he's trying to bite my wire so that I disconnect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. So anyway, more on this. So Tanador covers for him and says, "Nah, that's not him. That's not Karak. Karak's back at Redhold as me, as far as I know." But then when the Avar was gone and he sent him sort of on his way, he's the elect of the sky, so he's going to take his word for it, sort of thing. Tanador turns to Karak and says, we need to have some serious words, you and I. Seriously. I mean, what is, why are they saying that? What are you actually up to? And Karak says, nothing, look. It's just, if there was something to tell you, I'd tell you, Why are they saying all this about you? So it was an interesting moment of tension and potentially tangible crisis, which didn't actually emerge, and it was kind of left at that, really. And then the group were pretty much into the harsh winter itself, the module of which was written by myself and Martin Garner, and you will be able to see that in the link below as well. So I'm just going to quickly go through the file a little bit and see what they did. We've got rules in here for trying to keep warm, the sort of minuses that will go against them if they fail at trying to do that. We have some quite difficult advanced target number tests here. The reason being for the difficulty of those tests. Let me just send the dog's mic momentarily. Trying to eat an elastic band now, you know the way. The reason for the difficulty of that was because the group can pass it. Now, whether your players can or not, I don't know. That's a completely different matter. But the group can pass it. They can do target number 19, say cunning navigation, or 19 cartography, with something like a threshold of 25, or even higher. And for this group, you would need something a bit higher, really, to do the job. Oh, great. One moment. Ozzy! Ozzy! Drop! Drop! Look. Oh, Ozzy. There you go. Sorry about that, folks. I just had to stop him trying to eat a metal lapel pin that he managed to pull out of the child's drawer. Ah, dear. Right, okay. Back on with the show, shall we? Sorry about that, sir. Disturbance. So, things like whether they're wearing warm, fur-lined mountain garb, all of the minuses that could go against them. Do they have a tent? Do they have a way of keeping themselves warm? And the group were able to, and there was quite a lot of them, of course, playing at this time as well, like say 7 or something, which is kind of quite a lot for a GM to try and deal with. There's an awful lot of potential meta there, especially from older players who are quite wizened to certain meta elements of a game. And these guys were able to recognize what would potentially be dangerous situations. Like, I wanted to find out what formation they were walking in, for example, at one point. Were they walking in a scattered way? Were they single file? Or, of course, what I'm really trying to find out is, are they walking single file to make the most of treading the snow down, or else they'll work harder, they'll sweat, the sweat will freeze, that will start taking damage on them for reasons like that. But no, they're just like all meta on top of that, and it's really hard, isn't it, how to purvey survival elements, because on one hand you want the players to be able to feel satisfied that you're offering something that's realistically challenging, that offers a sense of realism in the way that the actual tests would require it, and this would be dangerous. On the other hand, if the players know all too well how to cope with it, they can make the encounters feel too easy, so that they're just breezing through one thing after another, and it might leave a little bit underwhelming, when in fact it really ought to be a very impressive feat what they've just achieved. But who knows? It's I suppose, and then you throw a good old-fashioned combat in there to really challenge them, I guess. But they're just very good. What can I say? They're a very good party of players. They knew what they were doing, and they did everything right. Avoided all of the things that would give them minuses. So they then found a couple of bears wandering on the path, hid, stealthed from the bears, followed them back to their cave, killed those bears, used their cave for the night. I mean, now that's what we're talking about, and of course there's just so many players all at the table that they were traveling in a large band. But large band could work against them at some point when you have a use several of these per player type really difficult encounter, maybe in the upcoming, maybe not this session, but you'll see. Right, I had stuff in there, where they're going to have to try and make some sort of makeshift igloo, something like that. No, because they had the tents. How did they deal with the frozen lake water sort of thing? Well, they avoided it. Might be another one of those coming up, however. The idea then with that where they come to an encounter that I called a rock and a hard place. So they come to this 2.6 kilometer slush climb, and they have to determine, are we going to try and go up that, or are we going to take the black slush slide down? And both of them just seem to just carry on uh, as far as sight can see in this weather. What are we going to do? Meanwhile, by the way, all of the navigation tests are being done by Aldrich Lapointe, played by Joel, the new character. He's got he's a warrior. Yeah, he's a clever warrior. He's a warrior with 5 cunning. You know what I'm saying? And he's got navigation and that sort of thing. So he's the kind of he's Orlesian. So I mean, he likes the home comforts even when he's out in the wild. He carries with him his fishing equipment, his pots and pans and cutlery. He refuses to live like an animal, and he wants to, be respectable still, even if he's out in the wild. And they decided, right, well, what are we going to do? So they thought of entertained ideas of maybe tying a rope around a tree and then trying to climb the slush that way, or go down the black slush that way. And they were just in the preparation of doing that, and then a figure was coming down the slope at them. And who was it? Well, once it was finally close enough, people figured out that it was everybody's favourite assassin, Squire, had found them again in the snow. Now, what did he want this time? And who had ordered him to strike? And they are firing arrows in, and the elf's like, I can't believe it. My shots never miss. Why are they missing? I never miss my target. And Squire is he runs straight at the group. Tanador puts damage into him. Amelia puts damage into him. They cut him to the bone. He just ignores it. He doesn't care. He flips past them, takes all of the damage, just takes it, and goes for his real target. Put the sword down into Tanador's pet, Harold, the Red Lion, to the back of his neck, hooks it up, picks him up by it, grabs him, hoists him by the fur, and lifts him with almost like supernatural strength. And, with this two-handed grip, runs to the ice slope and starts fast screeing down it. The others are like, quick, after him. So they start sliding down to go after him. Some of them stay up the top. There's the new mage character of Chris, who's calling himself Tim, by the way. I think it's something like Tim Bob George. Please. So, anyway, Tim, it's like background. It's like, it's a mystery. Ooh. On his character sheet. Yes, you've got to love that, haven't you? Although the real character sheet you've got to love is Jez's, because it's just drawn cats and things all over it. So that they're screaming down after him, and Amelia's trying to go down with shield and this sort of thing. There's this pursuing happening. Now, here's the thing with that. Karak tries to mind blast Squire to stop him, to flatten him into the snow, but it's got a maximum reach. He passes the maximum reach. It goes off, and it happens to hit where the players are, disrupts them, smashes Amelia straight into the snow, flips it all up around her. Squire carries on down the hill, gets away from them. They are slowed down momentarily, and they continue the pursuit. They get to the bottom. They follow the trail of blood. They find Harold. He's there. Squire's not. Harold's been beheaded. So he's there. Tanador's really upset. He's in a sort of Morvan position there. When he lost Kara in our campaign. And he's like, I can't believe it, Harold, and he skinned him and took the skin with. So that was that. And he tried to find Squire, and he said, "Look, I promise you, I'm going to get this guy." But he's just vanished into thin air, pretty much up a tree, and that's him gone. And he's nowhere to be seen. He's a creepy bastard. So then the group are pretty shaken up by that, and it just seems really random why it happened. And I even had to say to Jez, I had to say, look, this isn't my doing per se. I'm not picking on you here. there are there are wheels in motion, and when this is all over as a story, I will sit down and explain to you what happened. Or at the end, I guess you'll be able to back figure it all out, and then you'll see why all of this is happening. So it's very deep. It's one of those sort of things. So yeah, they're in a real bad state at this, and they finally stumble into Morvan's camp. But they are at least navigating really well. They only got lost for about 3 days, in fact. And so far I've spent like 17 days all told in travel. But Morvan was distrustful initially. There was a lot of new faces, and he doesn't feel his best with the group. He's not being as helpful as he could with the group, but he's reluctantly sharing some supplies and food with them and his fire and that sort of thing, and traveling with the group right now at the moment. But he's not so he's not so keen, especially the fact that they've got their pet, and his had to die so theirs could be saved. And I'm sure if he knew that when they actually brought the Shadow Bloom back to give to Blacktail, that he would go completely livid if they told him, well, actually, for some reason, Blacktail was already cured. How about that? We don't know how, but once we got back, it was all better. We didn't need the Shadow Bloom. You could have used it, couldn't you? Yeah. They're not going to tell him that. Oh, no. No, they're not telling him that. So they met up with Morvan again, who we met in the Shadow Bloom, the hunter. They'd also met him at the tourney, of course. He's travelling with them, very morose, very sullen now, of course, as you'd expect. And that's where we actually find them, waiting, leaving, with 17 days past, and they are just spot on, in the right direction, making really good time, especially the fact that it's snowing. They're making exceptionally good time. I guess that little skiing moment was quite good for them. They very successfully negotiated the rocks and other problems like that, the trees and things on the way. So what are they going to find next? What's going to happen next? Well, the other thing to tell you is that as they've been going, they've been hearing the sounds of wolves all over the place. Wolves howling, growling, but they can't see them. They're being stalked, it would seem. Oh dear. And wolves have been a joking point in the past. No more. Wolves would be dangerous. They would be deadly. And I have devised a terribly nasty new profile to only throw at tier 3 type players. Meaning, 10 upwards. And of course, all the guys are 10. With Pete's little problem he had of losing 2 dexterity permanently due to the plague, he's got a crap load of experience. So ironically, he's probably going to hit 11 before anyone else. But still, losing 2 dex doesn't make up that. So there it is. And he's a rogue, losing dex. And he's a ranger rogue. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, we press on to say that we're not going to press on. So instead, we're going to say that wraps it for now. They might have a chance of finding somewhere to get their heads out of the snow for a while, but surely it's only a matter of time before those wolves attack. At the moment, you can just imagine them following the group and trying to assess them, see if one of them's going to be weak and fall behind. And obviously, if one does, they're going to pounce him. But, that's the nature. No one yet has. But until next time, I'll see you at the table.